Nowadays, with Korean culture taking off and K-pop becoming extremely popular than years before, more people are trying to learn how to read and speak Korean. There are many benefits of learning how to read Korean. If you're a K-pop fan, then you can read idols' Korean names, or if you're more into K-dramas, then you can read subtitles. More importantly, if you come across anything written in Korean, with a bit of effort, you'll be able to pronounce it easily. And if the word is English written in Korean, then you can easily understand it as well. Here in this video, I'll be teaching you how to read and pronounce Korean. Something you should know is that I'm actually Korean, was born in Korea, and lived abroad for many years, so I'm fluent in both languages. I'm going to be teaching you Korean in a pretty detailed fashion. The video could get a bit long, so make sure you have lots of time on your hands because there's nothing worse than watching a half-hour-long video while you're impatient. Alright, on with the video. First things first, we need to make sure you know a bit about Korean beforehand. Korean is actually pretty easy to pronounce. Now, this might seem obvious coming from a Korean, but trust me, it is. A Korean letter is made up of many characters, and those individual characters all have their own sounds. In other words, parts of a word have their own sounds, which make up the sound of the whole word. Now, this isn't the case with Chinese, for example. A letter sound isn't really made up of the individual parts. Yes, I know Chinese as well. First of all, we need to learn the structure of a Korean letter. As I mentioned before, a Korean letter is made up of a bunch of characters, and they go in designated places. A Korean letter always has a consonant at the top, a vowel either on the right, the bottom, or both, and can also have up to 2 consonants at the very bottom. So one thing we need to take away from this is that there can be top or bottom consonants and horizontal and or vertical vowels. Does it sound complicated? Don't worry, now we'll get to pronunciation. Make sure to remember the letter structure though. There's also an order of which to write first. You always write the top consonant first, then the horizontal vowel, then the vertical vowel, and then the bottom consonant. Also, another thing for you to know is that a single letter is 1 syllable in Korean, which makes it really easy to count syllables in Korean, unlike English, where we have to sound the words out. So, let's learn Hangul, or the Korean alphabet. The Korean alphabet is made up of 14 consonants and 10 vowels. Very different from English, which has 21 consonants, including Y, and 5 vowels. Each character has its own name and sound, like how A is pronounced A. For sounds, I'll use English to make it easier for you to understand. Let's start with the consonants first. The first consonant is Kyo, which has a G sound for top and a K sound for bottom. So, for example, this letter would sound like Ka. Same character, but different sounds for top and bottom. See what I mean? Remember, consonants can be at the top or the bottom, and sometimes the same character has different sounds depending on its position. The second consonant is Niun, which has an N sound for both top and bottom. So this letter would sound like Nan, because this character is pronounced the same for both top and bottom. The third consonant is Tigut, which has a D sound for top and T sound for bottom. So this letter would sound like Pat. For top, it sounds like D a lot, but of course it's slightly different. In English, you would put your upper and lower teeth together and say D, like D. You can't see my tongue because my upper and lower teeth are together. D, you can't see my tongue. But in Korean though, you would kind of put your tongue in between your upper and lower teeth like Tigut, Tigut, kind of. It's just very slightly. Tigut, Ta, Tigut. So it's kind of different than the English letter D. For the bottom sound, I know I said it sounds like T, but there wouldn't be much difference between D and T because it cuts short anyways, like Pat. So there's not really much difference between D and T. So I guess you could just remember it as D to make it easier. The fourth consonant is Rir, which has a sound similar to L and R. It's kind of in the middle, and many foreign people have trouble pronouncing this because it just doesn't exist in English. L and R are the closest to Rir, but they're not exactly the same. So this letter would sound like Rar. Same L or R sound for both top and bottom, but remember, it's not the same as L or R. When pronouncing L in English, you would put your tongue against your upper teeth, like L, la, L. But when you're pronouncing Rir in Korean, you need to curl your tongue a bit. Rir, rar. You need to curl it a bit. I can't really show it, obviously, because it's in my mouth. Rir, ra, rir. You don't really put it against the tongue like L, but then you don't really curl it as much as R. Like R, you curl your tongue a lot. L, you don't curl it at all. You put it against your upper teeth. L. But Rir is like in the middle. You curl it slightly. You don't put it against the upper teeth. So it's a bit complicated for me to explain because you can't see it inside my mouth. But it's pretty hard, so you're gonna have to practice this a lot. The fifth consonant is Mium, which has an M sound for both top and bottom. This letter would sound like Mam. Very straightforward and easy. The sixth consonant is Piup, which has a B sound for top and a P sound for bottom. So this letter would sound like Pap. As you can see, the ending of Pap sounds like B or P because it's such a short sound. So I would just remember it as B to make it easier to remember. The seventh consonant is Shiut, which has a S sound for top and a T sound for bottom. So this letter would sound like Sat. This is one of those cases where top and bottom sound different. Remember that. The eighth consonant is Ium. This one is very unique. For top, it can be any vowel, A, E, I, O, or U. The sound actually depends completely on the Korean vowels the letter has. In other words, this character has no sound and is completely empty. For bottom, it has an NG sound, like So this letter would sound like ang. The top sound is decided by the Korean vowel it has, which we will get into a bit, so don't worry. And as you can see, the bottom sound is like This is pretty important to remember. Also, fun fact, if you're having trouble figuring out if an Asian language is Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, if it has a circle, it's Korean. Chinese characters are mostly made up of straight or slightly curved strokes, and Japanese characters, while there are some round characters, there are no circles. So if there's a circle in an Asian language and you can't decide if it's Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, it's most definitely Korean. Just a fun fact for you to know. The ninth consonant is J, which has a J sound for top and a T sound for bottom. There are a lot of consonants that has a T sound for bottom, and this is one of them. So this letter would sound like chat. Top and bottom sound different. The 10th consonant is ch, which has a CH sound, ch, for top and a T sound for bottom. So this letter would sound like chat. The 11th consonant is q, which has a K sound for both top and bottom. So this letter would sound like ka. Fun fact, if you spam this character when you're texting, it's like the equivalent of lol. The k sound imitates laughter, so Koreans use that in text every day. The 12th consonant is t, which has a sound similar to T for both top and bottom. Like digut, you have to put your tongue in between your upper and lower teeth like I showed you earlier, but just pronounce it stronger. Not da, but ta. So this letter would sound like tat. Sounds a lot like T. The 13th consonant is P, which has a P sound for both top and bottom. So this letter would sound like pop. And finally, the 14th and final consonant is H, which has an H sound for both top and bottom. So this letter would sound like ha. Fun fact, you can actually remember each character's sounds if you just remembered their names. The characters' names are spelled with their own characters for both top and bottom consonants. Take this as an example. This character's name is Hyuk. So right away you know that top sound is G and bottom sound is K. Seriously, if you spell it out in English, the first letter would be the top sound and the last letter would be the bottom sound. Let's just take one more example before moving on. This character is Jiut. In English, it sounds like it starts with a J and ends with a T. So that's it. The top sound is J and the bottom sound is T. Remembering each character's name is probably the best way to remember the top and bottom sounds. Trust me. So try this for all 14 consonants and remember the sounds. Hyuk has a G sound for top and a K sound for bottom. Nian has an N sound for both. Tigut has a D sound for top and a T sound for bottom. Rir has a similar sound to L and R for both. Mium has an M sound for both. Biup has a B sound for both. Shiot has an S sound for top and an T sound for bottom. Iung has an empty sound for top, which depends on the vowel, as I said, and an ng sound for bottom. Jiet has a J sound for top and a T sound for bottom. Chiet has a ch sound for top and T sound for bottom. Kiet has a K sound for both. Tiet has a T sound for both. Piet has a P sound for both, and Hiet has an H sound for both. So there we go. You learned the basic consonants, which are pretty simple to pronounce. You might need to memorize them well though, but we actually have a bit more consonants to learn. Don't worry, they're not really new. They're based on the consonants we learned already. So Korean has double or pair consonants. In Korean, this is called sangjang, which literally means double or pair consonants. As you can see, this letter sang, which means double, has two of the same consonants at the top. The first double consonant is sanggyok. Now, we learned a bit ago that gyok sounds like G for top. Now that there's two, the top sound for sanggyok is GG. This might be hard to grasp, but let me explain. It's just simply gyok with a bit more strength and emphasis, that's it. And the bottom sound is still a K. So this letter would sound like ka. One consonant at the top would sound like ka. Double is ka. See the difference? Double just makes it stronger and harder, nothing more. The second double consonant is sangdigut. Since digut has D as a top sound, sangdigut has DD for top, no bottom sound. Sangdigut just doesn't exist as a bottom consonant. So this letter would sound like ta. Single is ta, double is ta. You can probably tell the difference. The third double consonant is sangbiup. Since biup has B as a top sound, sangbiup has BB for top. No bottom sound again because it just doesn't exist in Korean. Single is pa, double is pa. The fourth double consonant is sangshiot. Since shiot has S as a top sound, sangshiot has SS for the top sound. Bottom sound is still T. So this letter would sound like sat. Single is sa, double is sa. The fifth and final double consonant is sangjiut. Since jiut has J as a top sound, sangjiut has JJ for top. Bottom sound doesn't exist. Single is cha, double is ja. These five are the only double consonants made up of the same consonant. So things like sangniun or sangrir don't exist in Korean as its own character. The sounds exist, you know, I can say na and ra harder like na and ra, but these won't exist as a double consonant character. It would exist as separate letters. Here's what I mean. Take this word as an example. It has a niun on the bottom of the first letter and at the top of the next one. So technically the N sound of the niun is doubled. This word is pronounced anna. Hear that strong N sound? Anna. It is different from Anna, which is what it would sound like with only one nian. Another example is this word. This time it has two rir, so the R sound, or the L sound, is stronger and heavier. Ara. See, the R sound is much more emphasized and heavier. One rir would sound like ara, sounds like different than ara. This is how consonants that aren't double consonants could still sound like it. Anyways, the 5 double consonants I showed you are the only double consonants that can go at the top. There are plenty more double consonants that can go at the bottom, which I'll teach you later on in this video. So now you basically learned all the 14 consonants and the 5 special double consonants in the Korean alphabet. There is a kind of an easy way to remember the sounds of the characters, other than remembering names, of course. For this, I'm gonna take the Korean keyboard as an example, and this is gonna get really interesting. This is an old 10-key Korean keyboard for phones. Back when there were no touch screens, these keyboards were on flip phones. I used to use this keyboard long ago before smartphones were a thing, but now of course, most Korean keyboards look like the QWERTY keyboard, which is how you can type Korean on computers, but on phones, you can choose the old or new Korean keyboard still. I've seen people still use the old one, so there are probably still people out there who think the old keyboard is easier to use. Really, it just depends on individual taste. So, why am I talking about the old Korean keyboard? Well, as you can see here, the 14 consonants are arranged in pairs, and for most of them, the characters in each pair look really alike. You can use this information to easily remember the sounds of each character. Look at the first pair, which has giok and kyuk. Giok has a G sound and kyuk has a K sound. Let's be honest here, ga and ka sound really similar. In one way, K does sound like a stronger G, but ka and ka shouldn't be mixed up. They sound different. Another pair is digut and tit. Ta and ta sound really similar, don't they? Ta just sounds stronger than ta. Again, not to be confused with ta, which sounds different. Another pair is biup and piup, pa and pa. Don't confuse it with pa, which is stronger in a different way. The last pair on the keyboard is jiut and chit. Ta and cha definitely sound similar. Of course, don't confuse it with za. Now, even though this pair isn't on the keyboard, it's kind of a pair. Iing and hit, ah and ha sound similar. Anyways, the characters in each pair look and sound similar, meaning that it will be slightly easier for you to memorize the sounds of each. You know, you can also use the names of the characters, as I've told you earlier. But for those that aren't in pairs, just remember them. You can't really do anything about them, and you can't really learn a language without memorizing much. There is an easy way to remember these pairs as well if you don't have an old Korean keyboard. On a Korean standard keyboard or the QWERTY keyboard, the pairs are organized in a pattern. These are pairs, these are pairs, these are pairs, and these are pairs. Top goes right to left, bottom goes left to right. Now let's move on to vowels. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are horizontal vowels and vertical vowels. If the vowel has a long vertical part, then it's a vertical vowel, which goes on the right of the letter, and if it has a long horizontal part, then it's a horizontal vowel, which goes on the bottom. Essentially, there are 5 of each, making 10 vowels total, but we'll learn them right now. The first vowel is ah. The second vowel is ya. Yes, it looks really similar to ah. It has 1 extra stroke, and it sounds similar as well. One thing you can take away from this is that the extra stroke usually adds a Y to the sound. You know, ah and ya, there's an extra Y. The third vowel is aw. The fourth vowel is yaw. Again, it looks really similar and sounds really similar. The extra stroke, as I've mentioned before, adds a Y to the sound. The fifth vowel is o. The sixth vowel is yo. The seventh vowel is u. The 8th vowel is u. The final 2 vowels are unique. The 9th vowel is and the 10th vowel is e. They don't sound similar at all, but they're in pairs for a reason. These are the building blocks for Korean vowels. If you've noticed, Korean vowels are made up of horizontal or vertical bars with extra strokes. These last 2 vowels really make up all the Korean vowels. Let's go back to the old Korean keyboard for easy reference. I'm pretty sure you see that dot on the keyboard, and no, it's not a period. It's actually the extra stroke in Korean vowels that I was talking about. With this dot and the final 2 vowels, you can make any Korean vowel. It's based on how you write Korean in handwriting. See here, if you add the stroke before e, you get aw. 2 strokes before is yaw. 1 stroke after e would be ah, and 2 strokes would be ya. Similarly, a stroke before would be o, and 2 strokes would be yo. 1 stroke after would be u, and 2 strokes would be you. This is a great way to remember how to write Korean. I'm just showing you how the last 2 vowels are related to all the other vowels, and it will be much easier for you to remember. So there we go. You learned the Korean vowels aya, oyo, uyu, uyu, e, which is how the Koreans say it quickly. For vowels, just remember that you can add the first stroke before or after or e to make other vowels, and then you can add another stroke to add the y sound. Before we move on, since we learned the vowels, I just want to point this out. When Koreans recite the Korean alphabet, they don't really say 기역, 니은, 티귿, and so on. That's really slow, and that's going to take a really long time. Since we want to say it quickly, we just combine the consonants that we learned with the first vowel and just say 가나다라 바바사 아자차카타파하. That is how Koreans say the Korean alphabet out loud. So the equivalent of ABC would therefore be the first 3, Canada. Like consonants, there are combinations of vowels as well. These are quite easy to remember, to be honest. You'll see why. The first pair is e and e. They sound almost exactly the same. E, as you can see, is made up of a and e, and combine those sounds together and you get e. This isn't quite it for e, but the pair looks similar and they sound similar, so just remember that. The second pair is ye and ye. Again, they sound basically the same. Ye is made up of ya and e, so those sounds combined makes ye, similar to the other one as well. They look similar and they sound similar. So some of you might go ahead and ask, well, if they sound similar, how do you know which one's right? Well, you need to remember that. Yes, even Korean people get it wrong sometimes, so don't feel bad at all. All you need is read a lot of Korean words and remember which vowel is right or wrong. You'll get the hang of it. Of course, there are some more combined vowels. Wa is a combination of o and a, so the sound becomes wa. We is a combination of o and e, so the sound is we. Wa is a combination of u and o, so the sound is wa. We is a combination of u and e, so the sound is we. We is a combination of u and e, so the sound is we. Ri is a combination of and e, so the sound is ri. Finally, there's we. You can see that it is a combination of o and e, but it isn't pronounced oi. This is an exception. It's pronounced we. So right now you learned the consonants, double consonants for top, and all the vowels in the Korean alphabet. Now there's just one more, double consonants for bottom. This might be the easiest though. As you can see here, there are pairs of consonants again, but these are exclusively for bottom. Pronouncing these is easy. Take this as an example. You see ni은 and jiut together, so it would automatically have an nj sound. So what would it sound like? Let's take a real Korean word as an example. The word you see means sit down, and as you can see, there is the double consonant at the bottom of the first letter. The iung has an empty sound, remember? And this is the first vowel a, combined with ni은 and jiut. This word is pronounced anja. Since the iung in the second letter is empty, the right consonant from the pair, which is jiut in this case, carries over to the second letter. So really it sounds like anja. Remember, the right consonant from the letter moves over to the next letter. Another example is this. This word means to read. There is a rir and kiok at the bottom. You know the drill. The right consonant, which is kiok here, moves over to the next letter. It's pronounced irgo, which sounds a lot like irgo. Final example. This word means there is. There's a sangshio at the bottom. Previously, you would have pronounced this as it-o, because you learned that the bottom sound for sangshio is t. But here, when the double consonant is made up of the same two consonants, the entire pair moves over. In other words, the entire sangshio, the two of them, move over. So since iung is empty once again, it gets replaced by the sangshio. This word is pronounced iso, which sounds a lot like iso. Now, of course, some of you might be asking again, well, what if the next letter didn't have iung? What if it wasn't empty? What if it had a different character? Then nothing moves over. Let's take this word as an example. This means thinly. You can see the double consonant made up of rir and piup, and you can see that the next letter isn't iung, but instead it's kiok, the first consonant. Well, let's go step by step here. The iung is empty, so it depends on the vowel. This vowel is ya. The bottom consonants are rir and piup, so you can immediately tell by their names that the bottom sounds are r and b. The next letter has kiok, which you can tell has a g sound for top, and the vowel is e. The word is pronounced 얇게. How easy is that? You just put them together and you get it right away. And of course, for the other double consonants that I really haven't pointed out yet, you would do basically the same thing. So I'll just skip over them right now. Great, you're basically done with the Korean alphabet now. Obviously, there are some exceptions you need to remember. I'm just gonna point some out right now. Look at this word. The first letter has biup, which has a b sound, and the vowel is o. The next letter has shiot, which has an s sound, and the vowel is u. So you would think this word would be pronounced bus, but you're wrong. It's pronounced much stronger. Bus. Yes, it means bus in English. Here's another exception. This word means good. The first letter has jiut, which has a j sound. The vowel is o, and the bottom is hiut, which has an h sound. The next letter has digut, which has a d sound, and the vowel is a. You might pronounce this as joda, but that'd be completely wrong. The h from the first letter affects the second letter and makes the digut sounds more like a tiut with a t sound, but more stronger. So instead of joda, it sounds like chota. Here's another one. This means June, as in the month. The first letter has iung, which is empty, and the vowel is yu. It has a kiok at the bottom, which has a k sound. The second letter has iung, which is empty again, and it has two vowels, u and o. Just put them together and you get wo. And at the bottom there is rir, which has an r sound or an l sound, whatever you might prefer. So you might pronounce this as yuk-war, but it really isn't. To make it sound more fluid, Koreans don't really pronounce the kiok in the first letter, so it sounds like you are. This is how pronunciation could be slightly different than how the words are spelled. Obviously, I can't tell you all these exceptions right now because that would take forever, and this video is just for you to get a basic start. You will encounter and learn more exceptions like these when you read more Korean. I can tell you that there are much more exceptions in English, like indictment, island, and Arkansas. They're not pronounced exactly the same as they're spelled. Other than that, you know how to read Korean now, so that's the good part. Now, let's practice pronouncing some real Korean words. Here's the first word. The first letter has piup, which you can tell right away from the name that it has a p sound, and the vowel is e, so it's p. The second letter has jiut, which has a j sound, and the vowel is a, so it's ja. Put them together and you get pizza. And yes, this does mean pizza. The next word is this. The first letter has iung, which is completely empty, A, and the vowel is E, so it's E. The second letter has P, which has a P sound, and the vowel is U, and the bottom is R, which has an R or L sound, so it's Per. Now put them together and you get Epper. And yes, it means apple, the company. It doesn't mean the fruit because we have a separate Korean word for that, which is this one. The first letter has Shiot, which has an S sound, and the vowel is A, so it's Sa. The second letter has Giot, which has a G sound, and there are two vowels, O and A. Remember what to do with these? You just put them together because this isn't an exception. The vowel is Wa, the word is Gwa. Put them together and you'll get the entire word Sagwa, which means apple, the fruit, not the company. This one is for K-pop fans. This is the Korean name of a member in Twice, more specifically the youngest member or the maknae, and this is the English spelling of her name. A lot of foreign people have trouble pronouncing her name in English and they say it like Tsuyu or something like that. Well, in this case, if you knew how to read Korean, you would have had no problem pronouncing her name, right? See here. The first letter has Sangjit, which has a JJ sound. The vowel is so the first letter is Z. The second letter has Ing, which is completely empty, and there are two vowels again, U and E. This isn't an exception, so just put the two together and get V. The second letter is therefore V. Now put them together and you will get Zui. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like Tsuyu after all, which is why some fans call her Chewy as her nickname, because it sounds similar to her actual name, you know, Chewy, Zui. It's just how Chinese works. The YU part sounds like Yu in Chinese, but U in English, which is why a lot of foreign fans have a lot of trouble pronouncing this. Moving on. Next word is this, which means 8 in the native Korean counting system. Yes, there are 2 counting systems in Korea, but that's a different story for probably a different video. The first letter has Ing, which is empty, and the vowel is Ya, so it's Ya. The second letter has Digut, which has a D sound, and the vowel is O. It has double consonants at the bottom, Rir and Piup, so the second letter is Tart. Put them together and you'll get Yodar. To be honest, people don't really pronounce the Piup in the second letter when pronouncing, so I guess it's kind of an exception. They say Yodar, not Yodar. Final example, because I'm pretty sure you all get this by now. This is a long word, so let's tackle it step by step. The first letter has Kyuk, which has a K sound, the vowel is O, and the bottom consonant is Mium, which has an M sound. Put it together and that's Kom. The second letter has Piup, which has a P sound, and the vowel is U, so it is Pyu. The final letter has Tiut, which has a T sound, and the vowel is O, so it's Ta. Put it all together and you'll get computer. You guessed it, the word means computer. Amazing, you can read Korean now. I'm not kidding, you managed to learn how to read Korean in a single video. This video was incredibly detailed, pointing out some exceptions that you need to know, and to be honest, probably one of the most detailed videos out there. Of course, you will come across exceptions on your own, but you shouldn't think exceptions in Korean are hard. I can tell you again that there are much more exceptions than English, but all in all, I hope that you saw Korean is a really easy language to learn and pronounce. Other parts in Korean like grammar, not so much, but at least you know how to read basic Korean now. In fact, by watching this video, you will be able to go to Seoul and read every sign and billboard in the city, basically. There are a lot of words that are made into Korean in Korea, so if you're able to read them, you will know exactly what they mean. So again, if you're a K-pop fan, you can pronounce every idol's name. If you like watching K-dramas, you can read the subtitles literally, slowly but accurately. Now that you know how to read Korean with enough memorization and practice, you'll become good at it now. Anyway, that was the end of the video. I hope I helped you guys with this video, and if it did, then click the like button on the video so that I know I helped you guys out with learning Korean. If you want to say something or tell me something, leave a comment in the comment section below. Recommend me what videos I should make, and it could be, you know, teaching more Korean, like number systems or whatever, as I mentioned before. And if you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys later in the future. Bye.